Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Thielman, and I'm the President and CEO of the International Institute of New England. It is a pleasure to welcome you to our Town Hall webinar. We had our last webinar in January, and quite a bit has happened since then. First, I want to thank every staff member, volunteer, intern, donor, member of our board of directors, leadership council member, and community partner for being part of our incredible journey this past year. You have been very generous with your time, your talent, and your treasure, and we cannot thank you enough. We do not do this work alone. Since October 1, 2021, the start of the federal and our fiscal year, the International Institute of New England has served more than 3,300 unique clients in our resettlement, case management, family reunification, education, workforce training, job placement, and immigration legal services programs. Our clients include refugees, asylees, humanitarian parolees, foreign-born victims of human trafficking, unaccompanied children who migrate to our region to reunite with families, and immigrants of all statuses. Among the 3,300 individuals in our service continuum are 500 Afghan humanitarian parolees that are staff and community partners welcome to Massachusetts and New Hampshire over the past 6 months. In addition to Afghans, we have welcomed 80 refugees from other countries. 234 Haitians of various immigration statuses have enrolled in our services this year, and we are starting to see a small number of Ukrainians fleeing the Russian invasion. Today, you'll hear from our volunteer and internship program manager, Taylor Donaldson. You'll hear from Alexandra Weber, our Chief Advancement Officer and Senior Vice President, Chris Ferrara, the Managing Director of our Boston office, and Henry Harris, the Managing Director of our Manchester office. In addition, we have a real treat for you. 3 people that we have resettled who now work for the International Institute of New England will be having a panel discussion about their life before they came to the United States, their journey here, and their life now here in the United States. And there's Zara Almadi and Noor Qureshi of Afghanistan. They were evacuated from Kabul last August, and John Bright, who arrived in the US earlier this year as a refugee from Burma. As we go through our presentation, just a reminder, please put your questions in the question and answer tab on Zoom, and we'll do our very best to answer your questions. And then there'll be a Q&A at the end of the seminar. At the end of the webinar, we have a chance to ask questions as well. The mission of the International Institute of New England is to create opportunities for refugees and immigrants to succeed through resettlement, education, career advancement, and pathways to citizenship. As you can see on the slide, we have offices in Boston, Lowell, and Manchester, New Hampshire, and we have built strong partnerships in these communities with school districts, healthcare centers, and other organizations that serve the community. Iinee offers a continuum of services that helps refugees and other immigrants resettle, stabilize, and integrate into the community. Clients enter our services at various points in this continuum. We pointed this out in January for those of you that were on the webinar then. I think it bears repeating now. The U.S. resettlement system is working as fast as it can to rebuild and hire people to do an unprecedented amount of resettlement work. At Iinee, in the past several months, we have hired 20 additional people to support resettlement, as well as positions in other departments. We are now much better staffed to welcome and serve newcomers than we were when we first started receiving Afghans in October. Iinee has been supporting immigrant communities for more than 100 years. And since the 1980s, we have resettled more than 16,000 refugees in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Because we resettled many people from Afghanistan prior to the Taliban takeover of that country, Iinee was able to quickly hire and train 12 people in our case management program who speak Dari and Pashto, the languages of most new arrivals from Afghanistan. Many of the people we hire, in fact, are former refugees, including the individuals you meet this evening. Iinee is working very closely with advocates here and around the country to secure better funding and services for all refugees. In Massachusetts, the state's 6 resettlement agencies meet bi-weekly, and we lobby together for assistance for our clients. In Massachusetts, through the state's supplemental budget process, the 6 resettlement providers work with legislators to secure $12 million in funding for Afghans at the end of the last calendar year. And just a month ago, we worked with a group of legislators to secure another $10 million to help Ukrainians and other refugees arriving in the Commonwealth in the coming months. These funds are critical because it's very expensive to live in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, our partner is Century of Care Alliance and the International Institute of New England collaborated to secure state funding to hire housing coordinators, a hugely important position in a state with a very, very tight housing market. In addition, Iinee continues to join groups across the country advocating that Afghans be given a path to become citizens of the country in the same way refugees can. However, earlier this month, we were disappointed that President Biden's proposal to add the Afghan Adjustment Act to the Ukrainian funding bill was not accepted by Congress, but we hope it will be in the near future. So now I'm going to stop here and I'm going to turn the discussion over to Chris Ferrara and then later to Henry Harris, who will talk a little bit about the clients we're serving. Chris?
Thank you, Jeff. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has welcomed more than 2,000 Afghans who fled the country after the Taliban takeover, and many were associated with the U.S. government, working for the USAID program, the U.S. military for U.S. contractors, and others that supported the U.S. presence in the country for the past 20 years. So every Afghan family now is adjusting to life in the U.S. in many different ways, and this is a process. All of the Afghan children who are eligible to be in school are enrolled, and by all accounts, this means that they're enjoying their chance to learn and make new friends. And 65% of adults who are employable have jobs in numerous industries, and more Afghan eligible adults are finding jobs every week. Many Afghan women are pregnant and enlarging their families by having babies, and our current management staff and volunteer teams are responding to multiple health issues, which means our staff and volunteer teams are taking clients to medical providers and helping them navigate the healthcare system in Massachusetts and in New Hampshire. In addition, Iinee has hired a female Afghan doctor, a woman who was evacuated from Kabul last summer, and she provides cultural orientation to our female clients. Next slide. So we are providing services to a number of Haitian clients as well. Iinee has several staff who speak Haitian Creole, and we have 3 staff members of Haitian descent who are working exclusively with this population. Many Haitians are facing housing insecurity, and our case management staff is enrolling these families and individuals in case assistance, as well as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP, and Mass Health. We've also enrolled some of our employment and ESOL services for our clients. We've enrolled them in that as well. Finally, next slide, our 18 Ukrainians have been in contact with us so far and are looking for services from us. And we do expect this number to increase in the coming weeks. About half of them now have open cases with our Immigration Legal Services Program. And the US is setting up more formal programs to welcome over 100,000 Ukrainians to the US. But so far, resettlement agencies in the US have not received Ukrainians through this formal resettlement system. And from here, I will let my colleague Henry Harris continue.
Thanks, Chrissy. Housing is our biggest challenge. Many of our communities are experiencing a less than 1% housing vacancy rate. And so our challenge is to welcome people into the community and then, help them be successful in the community that they're in so that they can attend the same schools without having to move, and that they can find a way to, meet the rent. So we, in preparation for, the Afghan arrivals, we tried to get ahead of it and expand our property network in terms of all the landlords and property owners that we come in contact with. We hired a housing coordinator for New Hampshire, and I think that's going to be the model for all sites coming soon, which really helped us build a really strong network. It's a conversation we have block by block as we try to build this network. So as you can see, like, you know, more than 80% of our clients are now in long-term housing. So we've really moved that needle, and it's been a great experience in terms of watching folks come into the communities, and we are able to provide housing, get kids enrolled in school, and find meaningful employment. Next slide, please. So here's kind of our breakdown of the different populations we're currently serving. And in terms of, you know, basically, you know, in terms of Afghan parolees are here on SIB status, and which is temporary status, which we're hoping to change. And our Haitian clients are kind of a mix. And Ukrainians are also coming in as parolee status or on a non-tourist, on a tourist visa. Sorry about that. I think is that all I captured there, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. So the, you know, people that come, a lot of people have come as humanitarian parolees. That means that they're here for 1 or 2 years. The Ukrainians who are admitted as humanitarian parolees have 364 days in the United States. That's their limit. And we're trying, obviously, to adjust their status, get them temporary protective status, possibly asylum, although that is a long, complicated 4.5-year process. The Ukrainians that Iinee is seeing, most of them have tourist visas. There was also being admitted as humanitarian parolees. When you're admitted as a humanitarian parolee, you're not eligible for public benefits unless the government says so. So Afghans admitted as humanitarian parolees were made eligible to get the same public benefits as refugees. That was an enormous help for the Afghans. We're expecting to see that passed by Congress and signed by the president so that Ukrainians get the same benefits if they're admitted as humanitarian parolees. They'll be eligible for public benefits. They're not currently eligible. And then, you know, our immigration legal services team provides a wide range of services to clients and helps them to adjust their status in the United States. These folks should be eligible to be refugees. That would be the simplest thing because they fled their country of origin. But in order to be refugees, they have to have fled their country of origin and be designated as refugees either by the United Nations or the United States government, that'd be recognized as refugees by the United States government, and that has not happened. All right, so the next slide. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take down the the slide deck, and we're going to move to a panel discussion. So Tali, if you bring down the slide deck, great. We're going to move to a panel discussion with 3 individuals who have come to the United States from Afghanistan, 2 from Afghanistan, and 1 from Burma, with various backgrounds. I won't steal their thunder, but their names are Noor Kawashi and Zara Ahmadi, both from Afghanistan, and they have had extraordinary journeys from Afghanistan to the United States. And then saw John Bright. John was involved in the government in Myanmar or Burma, and fled that country when there was a turnover in government recently. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to start with you, Zara. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, Zara. So I guess the first question, this is going to go to all 3 of you. We'll start with you, Zara, is just tell us about your life before you came to the United States. So in your case, tell us about your life in Afghanistan.
Thank you so much for the question. Let me first express my gratitude to the organizer of the virtual town hall webinar for the resettlement of Afghan in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. As you have heard, my name is Zahra Ahmedi. I'm from Afghanistan. I was born in Herat province, and where I live with my parents, my older brother, and my youngest sister. I graduated from Sociology Faculty of Herat University, and also I was a student at the American Institute and the Leadership Program. After graduation in 2016, I have started my job in Danish Refugee Council. When I was working in Danish Refugee Council, I was working as a protection assistant and later as a protection officer, where we support internally displaced people and returnees with the specific focus on the women's and girls' rights until the Taliban collapsed the country in August 2021. When the Taliban collapsed the country, I was in Kabul. I left Herat because I felt unsafe when I was in Herat. Also, when I was in Kabul, I felt unsafe because I was a single woman in the Kabul, and I reached myself to Kabul airport, and I was 5 nights in Kabul airport without basic services. And after that, I went to Qatar for 5 nights, and after that, I was in Germany for nights, more than nights and days. Finally, at 5 September, I could have a flight to the United States, and I came here without any familiarity with anybody, and I was 3 months in the Virginia camp.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that. Powerful story, Gabby.
Thank you.
Noor, can you please just tell us about your life in Afghanistan?
Hello, everyone. This is Noor Qureshi. I'm from Afghanistan, and I had a 2 degree of economics and journalism. I was working for U.S. government as an advisor for the Afghan Identity Card Office. And part-time, I was a journalist working with Afghan TV, and I was a social worker. Beside that, I had my own welfare foundation that I was helping poor people, disabled people, children, and those women that they lost their husbands and their parents in the war. So I had my own community, and I was helping those who needs foods, clothes, and dresses, everything regarding their livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noor. And John, tell us about your life before you came to the United States.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. My name is John, and I'm working at Iinee as a case specialist. Before coming to the US, I was working with a non-profit organization for marginalized community to advocate for their justice, human rights, and for equitable natural resource governance. And along with this job, I was also involved in politics, supporting and working with members of parliament or senators for transition to democracy in Burma. In 2018, I got a chance to come here in US for my master's degree in Sustainable International Development at Brandeis University in Waltham, Massachusetts. So after that, I went back to Burma to help with politics and works on development activities. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make one comment that, we have a wide range of folks that come through our refugee program and wide range of education. And I'm always impressed by everyone's skills. I think we're all impressed by everyone's skills. These folks are well-educated, have worked very, very hard, and have accomplished quite a bit, and accomplished quite a bit in their countries before they came to the United States. And it's just something I hope the audience notes. Okay, so the next question is, just tell us, sorry, you already kind of answered this question about how you got on the plane and got to the US. So I'm going to skip you, but we'll start with Noor. Noor, maybe just tell us about, how you actually got on the plane in Afghanistan and Kabul, got to the United States. Tell us about that journey.
Okay, sure. As you know, that what happened in August month of, so everything was changed within 24 hours. I was at work. Suddenly, we received all of that get up from the office. So I got out from my office. Everyone was asking help and asking for protection. So I also tweet because that I was very popular in Afghanistan and working as a social worker. And so I tweeted and I said that I seek protection. So from US government, fortunately, I received a bulletproof vehicle and they took me to the airport, and the situation was out of control. I mean, even it was not like I lost my minds where to go, what to do, how to do. Time was that my family was living very far from me in another state, another province. So there was no way to get my family with myself and protect them. So according to the emergency situation, we get in the airports with the Air Force, and they took us in the airplane within 12 hours. So they directly take us to the Germany, from Germany to the US, Wisconsin. So the situation was uncomfortable, and like I was feeling that something is happening, which is unbelievable. This was my first time in my entire life that I saw doomsday in my life. So I couldn't control myself. My mind was not working. So I just came with the U.S. force to the Wisconsin state, and they gave us a very good hospitalities, and they gave us all the things what we need for the startup. And I was in the base for 4 months, and they provide us everything just to be there safe. And you know better that being safe in life is very important. So now my life is very perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Noor and Zara, just maybe you talked a little bit about the specifics of your journey. Zara, maybe just talk a little bit about a lot of people who watch the webinars that we have and email and call us want to know what was life like on bases in the United States. Maybe just describe a little bit about that experience.
Yes, sure. When I came here, actually, I had a story before I came here because I didn't know anybody in the United States. I chose the Massachusetts because of a scholarship that I received from an American professor of the Salem University. I came here to continue my education and master's degree in social work. But when I came here, I hosted by an American family. And after one day I came here, I met my case manager who was assigned by Iinee, and she helped me a lot. She applied for social security, work permit, and the necessary items that I need. And fortunately, I received all of them in 2 weeks. My experience from coming in the United States, it was good. I know that maybe for some people it's very difficult, but for me, because Iinee organization and staff supported me and made this journey easier for me. Because I also received a call from the employment department. Also, I was participated to Women Network group that they connected me to the other Afghan community in Lowell. And also I had English test. I had some other program that they made it easier for me being in the Lowell, and the process of reintegration was easier for me, fortunately.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Zara. And maybe Noor, just thank you for that. Maybe Noor, just tell us a little bit about your experience on the base. What was just tell people a little bit about the base experience.
Well, when I was in base, so there was around 12,000 other new, immigrants, the refugees, and they were leaving, just waiting for their process, like a biometric process, vaccination process. And the U.S. force was providing very good services, and they provide foods. Like the weather was very, very cold. They provide jackets, all the warm things, equipments. And also there was a football ground. There was lots of studies opportunities, like they're providing school classes, like a cultural orientation, work orientations. So I got opportunity to help my own Afghan as a volunteer. So I got a job with the Air Force, and they hired me as a volunteer coordinator to help the other 12,000 immigrants, so refugees. So I was just working as a teacher of cultural orientations and work orientation and English classes. So I helped them, and they provided us A to Z, whatever regarding the US law. They were providing information to all the immigrants, all refugees, and everything was very perfect. And they got us all the process, which is being will be processed, and they were waiting for their new state, which state they should go. So they got all the paperwork.
Excellent. All right, thanks for sharing that. All right, now, John, maybe tell us about your journey from Burma to the United States. What happened and how'd you come here?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So after my master program in US, I went back to Burma and I was helping our civilian government to win the election in November 2020 for a new term. Then the civilian government win the election in brief, but the military leaders didn't want to hand over the power. So, I mean, in summary, the military coup started in February 2021, and they put all the key leaders in prisons and killed people who stood up against them, on the street, demonstration. And I was also part of supporting, the civilian government and also working closely with one of the minister of humanitarian affairs. And my life was also threatened because they got all the leaders, they raided the house. So I had to flee the country to the border of Thailand. And then I had to move back here because in Thailand, Thailand was not welcoming us as a refugee. And then I was not safe there. So I have to move here to the third country in US. But again, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for sharing that. So now let's talk about life in the United States. Sorry, you gave us some good information there, so I might come back to you with some follow-up, okay?
Okay.
But if there's anything you want to add to what you told us already about life in the U.S., or do you want to add anything else?
Yes, just
Okay,
I want to add about my work in the United States. After being in the Lowell, I received a call from Employment Department of the Iinee about the employment. And fortunately, I applied for the employment case specialist in the Iinee Lowell. Fortunately, I received the offer from Iinee and I started my job in the Iinee family, where I have the responsibility of helping other clients that they had the same situation that I had in the past. We connected the employer and the clients to each other to find job for them, and also we have monitoring through labor market through several different network, and also we help the clients to have a career plan about the future, and also assist them through intake, and also coordinated with case manager to help individuals who are seeking employment in the United States. This is the life, my life in these days, and sometimes I face with minor challenges when I'm working because of the cultural issues that we had in Afghanistan, and sometimes we have here. But fortunately, I noticed that there are a lot of Afghan families that when they see myself in this position, they are really happy, and they told me that it's very nice that you are here and you help us, because they can speak with me. They as a Dari speaker, they feel comfortable when they are speaking with me. Thank you.
All right, Zara. So I got to follow up on the cultural issues with some of the Afghan clients. So what is it? Is it because of your gender? Tell us about that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Some of one of the reason is because of my gender, and another reason is because we had a situation in Afghanistan that men always were under power, and they couldn't tolerate that a woman be in a position that helped them. And sometimes I had difficulty with interacting with other men clients, but fortunately, I think with a lot of cultural orientation that our organization have for these clients, it is going to be easier for our clients. But still, there is a lot of problem because of the background that we had in Afghanistan.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's an important point for the audience to understand. Thank you, Zara. Noor, tell us about your work, what you do, how your life is now.
I will say that on 2nd February, I arrived to Lowell, Massachusetts. Here I became the client, for example, the client of Iinee, and the Iinee provided me apartment and all benefits, such as like a health insurance, which is very important, food stamp and cash assistance, and all with all a good apartment. And they provided me also opportunity to work with them and as a program assistant, education program assistant. So here I'm responsible for teaching the cultural orientation, work orientation classes, plus English classes for a new arrival, new immigrants that they are coming to the Lowell, Massachusetts. So I will say that I cannot express how much I'm happy here and how much I'm safe here. And I got everything better, peaceful by the help of Iinee and the government, also US government. So for me, having a peaceful life is important than anything in my entire life. And the community which is I'm working right now, which is called Iinee, is like a great, like a family community here. I love my job because I'm here, at least I'm helping someone else, because I know how the people, Afghan people, are suffering problems and issues with now a current situation, current government in Afghanistan. So there is no peace, there is nothing, but I'm having everything better from everyone. So this is like, I cannot express even, I will say that I appreciate A to Z, whatever is, whoever did, and during the evacuation from Afghanistan to here, the all Afghan. And I'm very happy with my life. I got everything, and everything is like going very well. And I hope one day I will invite my family too to USA to have a bright life, to have a good life, peaceful life. I really appreciate everything. I really appreciate Iinee that they are helping from all immigrants, whoever coming from any country, from any nation, and there is no problem with anyone. So everyone is welcome, and we are happy to help the clients. We are happy to help the immigrants, and at least I'm trying my best to build my career here and to be a helper and supporter for the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Noor. Appreciate you sharing that. John, tell us about your life now in the United States.
Thank you, Jeff. So first, I was so happy that I'm in a safe place. I arrived here, and everyone is like welcoming us. So thank you for all the support. And after my 90 days as a client, I got to join Iinee as a community services case specialist. And I was really excited to be part of the team. I'm very happy to help other incoming refugees who are also like myself, fled the country because of all the troubles back home. And I was recalling all my first 90-day experiences and help them to do all the necessary arrangement, from housing to applying social and other public benefit, etc. And yeah, it's very hard in the first few months. Everything is new, and adapting new culture and the community is also quite challenging for newcomer. So I told my client that I have the same feeling when I first came here. We have many questions, but then when you know the system, you can adapt the situation, you'll be fine. And here, patience and mutual respect are very much important. Like for example, when you apply for a social card or food stamp or others, the officer will let you know that you have to wait for 2 weeks to be delivered, to your house, etc. So becoming settled down in new environment takes time, and we all need to work together on this. So yes, I like clients. I like helping clients this way as a community service case specialist, and it was a plus for me. I mean, with this job, because I was client and I know. And thanks to our leaders in International Institute of New England for all the support you provided. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. You did not have to say that. I do want to just kind of for the audience to understand. So we have 4 areas of service: case management, employment, education, and then immigration and legal services, which is a whole big department serving 1,400 people this year. But within each of the sites, there is the community services area, and that's doing the case management with people new to the United States. That's what John is in. Then there's education, and that's what Noor is in because of his fantastic English skills and his prior background doing some teaching on the base, as you heard. And then Zara is in employment, helping people to find jobs. So that's kind of gives you a sense of what we do. Before we move on to the next thing, there was a question that came up, and I think just maybe share a little bit. You are all here on your own, correct? Your families are back home. And so you all came here on your own. Just maybe briefly talk about, are you in touch with your families? What do you know about them, and share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Zara, you want to talk a little bit about how your family's doing?
Yes, I came here by myself without my family, and my family are still in Afghanistan. They are living in Herat province. And the situation was very difficult to bring my family with myself, and it was a chance that it was just for myself. And that time that the Taliban collapsed the country, the rest of my family were in Herat province, and they just told me that you should escape to Kabul because Kabul was the only place that the Taliban collapsed finally, finally. And I couldn't bring my family, but fortunately I have we can talk together through phone, video call, and it's sometimes difficult, but I'm going to manage the situation.
I'm sure it's not easy. Noor?
Well, as you know, that has said that I was a journalist and a social worker activist for peace, and I was always against of the current government, which is unofficial, like Taliban. I'm talking about Taliban. I was very clear with them, and they know me better. So having been a journalist for 13 years in Afghanistan is a long experience, and I was working for the peace, for my own public, for my own home country. So I'm against of that, and I was against of that. So currently, up to now, 3 wives, they went to my family and they searched for me. And my mother was saying that, where is my son? And she was saying opposite. Like she was not saying that my son is somewhere else. She was even asking from Taliban, where is my son? My son is dead. Where is my son? Even the Taliban was asking about me. So the situation is always up to now, it's not in a control. Everything is like the Taliban are just against of the education, against of the peace, against of those who want to be someone like a doctor, engineer, or scientist, whatever. So I'm very in trouble with my family right now. Like sometime when I'm calling and just like I cannot to be contact 24 hours with my family. Sometime I'm calling with my mom because they're changing their home address monthly or once in a month or after 2 months. They need to change their home address. They should go and stay at another home in another state, another province. So I'm having lots of problem, like due to just because of my own self. Like I belong with a very poor family, but I was a journalist and working with U.S. government. Plus, I was working with my own foundation that I was helping poor people, women. That's why I'm little popular in Afghanistan on news. So that's why.
Okay, thank you, Noor. I'm sure it's been very difficult. Thanks for sharing that. And then John, how about your family? And then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we have the similar situation. My family also stuck in the Thai-Burma border. We don't have frequent communication because internet access is very limited there, and they don't have any documentations because they are stuck in the forest area, and this is very difficult. But there are some supports from UNHCR. But then because there are also conflict along the border, they cannot come in, even they cannot come into the Thailand. So it's very hard for them. And then if they want to communicate, they have to go up to the hill to get communication line. And then we keep update, like if you are healthy, then okay. If you are not dead, then it's okay. Something like that. We cannot talk a lot. So yeah, that's the situation. And also other families member locked inside the city as well. They also have a hard time. Sometimes they have to like change the house because the military, they were looking for us, and if they don't find us, they go after the family members, and they torture, and they trying to get information about us. So yeah, quite challenging.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I'm sure it cannot be easy for you or your family. All right, my friends, we're now going to go to learn a little bit about giving an update on volunteers and their involvement in the International Institute of New England. And I'm going to turn over to Taylor Donaldson. And then after Taylor speaks, Alexandra Weber, our Senior Vice President, is going to talk about work that we're doing to plan a community sponsorship model. So Taylor, I'm going to turn it over to you, and Tali's going to put up the slide deck.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you to my colleagues, John, Noor, and Zahra. I'm so honored to learn from and learn with you each day. So thank you so much for sharing. I know we have a number of current volunteers on the call today, and thank you so much for joining us. If you are new to Iine's network and or looking to get involved in supporting our clients in many different capacities, we do have opportunities. We have a variety of volunteer opportunities available, including urgent and immediate needs, including airport pickups and apartment setups and helping folks navigate grocery shopping, as well as transportation to and from appointments, medical or otherwise. Additionally, we have some ongoing opportunities, including tutoring in our adult English for Speakers of Other Languages courses, or ESOL courses, youth mentoring opportunities through our Lowell site, as well as career mentoring opportunities. So we invite you, if you are interested, to take a look at our website at some different opportunities and get to know myself and each volunteer coordinator at each of our sites, and ask any questions, and let's connect and see how you might be involved in our network more fully. We have approximately 300 volunteers that have been heavily involved in supporting the resettlement of our Afghan clients, as well as other refugee arrivals through the past 5-6 months or so. And we have approximately 100 volunteers who are involved in some sort of ongoing sort of standardized support through ESOL or youth mentoring, career mentorship opportunities. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, you can absolutely get involved via our website. There you can find and sign up for our newsletter. You can get involved in volunteer opportunities, both for those immediate needs as an individual or a team, or for ongoing support, mainly on an individual basis. You can also see what in-kind donations or goods are needed at each of our sites in case you are interested, or your community, neighbor, Girl Scout troop, so on and so forth, might be interested in raising funds or donated goods for folks in need. And you can find information about donating directly to our organization, all on our website. If you're interested in joining our team, as we are growing across all 3 of our sites, we invite you to look at our employment opportunities via our career site. There you can see both career and internship opportunities. With that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Zan Weber.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us tonight and for following along in our work this incredible past year. And I did want to also shout out to all of my colleagues on the call tonight, and particularly those who have come as refugees, have been served by our organization, and then have turned around to serve other refugees, because that is an incredible privilege to our work and to all of our services. As Taylor said, we have really been excited and supported by hundreds and hundreds of volunteers joining our work, really hearing the call of really across the country of the incredible urgency around the Afghan evacuation, which has then rolled into urgency around a huge wave of Haitian migrants in need of support, and now is being continued with what we will expect to be a very large Ukrainian population coming to join us. And it's been our privilege to welcome so many volunteers, and thanks to so much of Taylor's work, we've been able to set up some pretty incredible opportunities, both to join us as individuals and to join us as families supporting whole refugees and hosting them. And I just wanted to share a little bit with our audience tonight, which many of whom I think are our volunteers, that after really taking a look at what's happening across the country in resettlement programs adopting very formal co-sponsorship, co-hosting models with their communities, the Institute has talked to a lot of our refugee resettlement agency partners, and we've learned a lot about that model, and we are now working on developing our own model of community sponsorship. All these words get flung around: sponsorship, co-hosting, co-sponsorship. What it really means is a continuation of the volunteer and community support that we have received, and a more formal program for those who want to host refugees really more deeply. So community sponsorship is a collaborative effort between groups of people who work together to welcome and prepare for refugees. A more formal pairing, well, first identification of groups and training, and then a more formal pairing of groups with refugees. We'll be, having refugees receiving introductions and connections to people in the community, helping them better navigate systems, finding friends and offering networks of support. Hoping that community groups are offering a new focus and understanding for refugees and bringing both host communities and new communities together, and providing hands-on work for people. So we can go to one more slide. So just to give you a little sense of the difference between what we're doing now and this community sponsorship model, again, it's a formal matching of a family with a host group, our identification of that group, a formal memorandum of understanding or kind of contract with that group to provide services, a very, very deep training for that group, a commitment to fundraise a specific amount for each refugee, which is new for us, and then a commitment to really support a family for up to 12 months. So broadly, the difference is we've been doing this work for a very long time as an agency in partnership with our communities, but now we're looking at an opportunity to do the work as hosts with communities. So a slightly different engagement, more formal, includes resource development, and has a much deeper training on our end. So I think one more slide. So like I said, we're developing this model. We're taking our time. We have a lot to learn. We have a lot to put in place, particularly training. We're really hoping that we can identify groups of people who really want to train deeply in resettlement. We could never replace our staff and their incredible expertise and experience, but we do think that with significant training and support, people can join parts of our work that we're currently supporting, but really refugees need much more support in. So we're in the early stages of designing the program. We're hoping to launch it the early fall. We'll be reaching out with more information in the next coming months. And if anybody has any questions, on this call or going forward, we've been lucky to find a wonderful person who's worked on the national community sponsorship model. Her name is Jessica Cerrone, and she would be happy to connect with anyone who's sort of in the early phases of curious about the program or interested in some more information. So with that, I think we are going to move to a question and answer period with some of our staff and our managing directors. And we've been looking at the chat and the Q&A and have really received lots of excellent questions. So, I'd love to just throw this out to everyone. And I have a couple of questions that have come in that I'd love to sort of ask specifically for our group. And the first is, and Jeff, you might lead us with this, why can't refugees enter the country with refugee status?
Well,
easy question.
So technically a refugee has to flee their country of origin. So someone would have to leave Afghanistan, go to another country, be in that country, and then be declared a refugee, and then get refugee status. So those of us who have been advocating at the national level have pointed out to a decision, to an opinion by the U.S. Department of Justice that the President of the United States actually could declare a group of people to be refugees. And so we did lobby, those of us involved in this work at the national level, the administration, to simply declare the Afghan community as refugees, all the people that came here. And if they were refugees, then they would have a path to a green card and then path to citizenship. And that would be the simplest thing. Our argument was that the asylum courts are clogged up and they don't have enough workers. It would cost the government actually more money. It would be much simpler if the president had made that declaration. The people in the administration decided not to go that route because I guess they were concerned that there might be quite a bit of litigation, which admittedly there would have been. So barring that, what we have been advocating for Afghans is called the Afghan Adjustment Act, and that would basically make them equal to refugee status, Afghans equal to refugees in terms of their legal status. That requires an act of Congress and a signature by the president. Getting the act of Congress passed has not been easy. So that's a long answer, but we wish they were classified as refugees on day one, and we think it would have been easier and would have cost less money and been a much faster way to help these folks. Much more humane. Yep.
Can I add something?
Oh, sure, of course, thanks.
Just to add a little bit of context, I think it's important for people watching to know that the refugee process is quite long. And so when someone flees their home country and goes to a second country for safety, the process with UNHCR can be over a decade easily. And getting that classification as a refugee takes quite a number of years. So what we saw happen in Afghanistan would have been impossible to do unless what Jeff had said was that the president declare something. So, normally the process takes a very, very long time. And because of that, you're seeing a lot of people come in the way they are, and they're getting different legal statuses put on them. So I hope that gives a little bit of background to the quote unquote normal process that we've seen since the 1940s.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'll just also add that we are doing our best to very quickly expand our legal services and programming, because we do hope that everyone who's here, who has the experience of a refugee, is able to stay in this country. And as they build their life here, they'll get deeper and deeper into integrating here. We have many people with many different statuses who are very concerned that those statuses are time limited. So we're hoping to do as much as we can to keep people here, to adjust status, to get them temporary protective status or asylum, or from humanitarian parole to refugee status. So we'll do our best. So our next question, maybe for Chrissy or for Henry, how many more Afghan families will we receive?
So I can answer that. I can answer that for Boston specifically. So we have agreed to take in another 100 individuals. So in terms of families, I couldn't give you that exact number. There might be a mix of families within that 100. We might see more people arriving on their own. Sometimes they're referred to us as single people or single men, but they're not necessarily people. They did single. They did leave family behind. So we have agreed to take that amount, although we do not know if we'll actually get that number. But we're still waiting to hear from our national partner for more information on that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and New Hampshire is looking for probably another 50 individuals to our area.
Okay. Taylor, maybe this one's for you. What types of in-kind or goods, services does the Institute and its clients currently have?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question. I would say it differs based on site. So please, I encourage you to check our most updated list on our website. By and large, and this is true of all of our clients, cash and gift cards are the easiest donation items to distribute for places like Walmart, Target, Amazon, any local grocery chain are going to be the most helpful things for our clients at this moment, because they are easy to distribute for folks, and it helps meet those necessities, getting food and getting clothing for children, helping get backpacks and things like that. Of course, we supply a number of in-kind donation goods and have helped source them from community partners. But much of our space is well stocked as of now, and we are so grateful for that. So we do have a few needs still listed on our website, so take a peek there for any additional information, but we're happy to chat.
Great. Thanks,
If I could just jump in on the having the donations of, just the outpouring of the gift cards that came in was really the lifeblood to allowing us to handle the crisis in so many ways, because it was, you know, very easy to navigate, easy to store, but also when you receive a high number of people all at once, sometimes the services are really hard to connect in a reasonable timeline. So you have a lot of people depending on food and things like that. And those gift cards really helped make the difference as a parachute to kind of triage these cases that came in. So thank you to all that have donated in the past. It was so great.
And I'd like to say one other thing. I think when we think about the gift cards and the cash directly going to our clients, it also gives them some autonomy in an otherwise very strict path that they're heading down right now, and they don't have a lot of control over things that are going on. So giving the gift cards as opposed and letting them choose what they want to buy with that cash, just I think gives them some sense of control in their life, and just the simple ability to pick their own things, I think is really important. So I would back up those two comments from my colleagues, definitely.
Thanks, everyone. Another question, and I'll just throw it out there. How do you help refugees who are minors, who do not come here with their guardians, parents, sponsors?
That's a good one.
We've actually, New Hampshire's been we haven't really seen that, so we're not, you know, that's an area that's on our radar for, like, when it does happen, we need to be prepared for it. We haven't had that case come up, so.
Right, and here in the Boston area, we do have an unaccompanied children's program. And so we have a special program for that, and none of our people are on the call today, so I don't want to answer specifics, but we do have a program that follows all the legal structures that are necessary to assist with those children as their needs, for their needs until they're met with a family that does live here, because usually any children that come quote unquote unaccompanied come with other family members or friends, and we work with legal agencies to help them get reunited with their families.
Sure. And I'll just also mention, not to confuse anyone, but there's two different refugee minor programs, and we run a program that mostly serves children who are reuniting from Central America, and there's another program that serves unaccompanied refugees. And it's really the state that resettles those individuals. It's agencies, but along with the Department of Children and Families, just like the foster care system, but very special to refugee minors. Okay, and next question, maybe this is for Zahra or Noor. What are the average sizes of Afghan families?
I would say that average size is around 7 person.
7 people.
Yeah.
Is that in Afghanistan as well as what you've seen in resettling people here?
Yes, actually, if you have a small family in Afghanistan, people will love on you that why your family is small, because you know better, Afghanistan has been through a war around 40 years, so everyone is dying. So you must have at least 5 brothers, 5 sisters. This is common in Afghanistan.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we have time for one more question. This one, this was pretty good. How does IINE collaborate and share best practices with refugees, providers from other states or nationally? And Jeff, maybe you want to start us out with just a short description of our affiliate model.
Yeah, so there are 9 different national, what they call voluntary organizations across the United States: U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Lutheran Immigrant Refugee Services, Hebrew Immigrant and Asylum Society, or I have that wrong, IAS. And we're part of the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, USCRI. And so in fact, I'm going to a meeting next month with the executive directors of all of the USCRI affiliates around the country. We meet regularly. We've been meeting mostly by Zoom for the past 2 years, and we share best practices and experiences. And that's pretty much how we do it. Zan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I think we've mentioned this before, but we're like really lucky to have 3 sites in over 2 states, and are lucky to share both those states with the Century of Care Alliance, who has refugee programs in both those states. We're also really connected to the New England resettlement providers from Connecticut and Rhode Island up to Maine. And I would say, you know, every state is different in its benefits, in its communities, but New England has been really, you know, again, like at the forefront of resettling Afghan refugees, and Massachusetts in particular, I think has committed to more refugees than any other New England state. So we learn all the time from our colleagues, and there's not really one way to do the work. We're all organized around the same federal contract, but there are different resources and different levels of support. And it really, I think, comes down to community, which is a great way to close out our town hall tonight, just by thanking everyone. Thanking you. I think we have almost 200 people on this call, and that's just a testament to your commitment to making sure that our communities are welcoming and encouraging of refugees and celebrate refugee communities, which I always say, you know, refugees, their lives are transformed by the work that we in our communities do, but also our host communities, and our work and our lives is transformed. So I think together we're really creating a new life. So with that, I thank everyone tonight. Please continue to stay in touch with us, follow our work. Please continue to support us. And of course, let us know if there's any ways you would like to personally get involved. So take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.